Well, okay, so we've got a couple things.
Ugh.
First thing is you have what they call dysmetabolic syndrome. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Okay, it's when you have multiple health issues. Essentially, you're pre-diabetic. Your
Mhm.
blood glucose is greater than 100
Mm.
at a resting state. I saw it was around 94, but even that, you're still kind of anything greater than 90 is considered you're at risk for diabetes. Anything greater than 100, it's pretty evident that you're coming up close to it. Well, looking at your hemoglobin A1C, you're around 6.2, right?
Mhm.
Anything greater than 5.7 is an increased risk. 6.5 to 7 is it's pretty indicative that you're right there with it. The thing is you have blood pressure, or you have hypertension,
Mhm.
right? So you're on two different blood pressure medications. So the combined factor of hypertension with pre-diabetes plus with your waist circumference greater than 35. I didn't even measure you just because I know when looking at your body mass index, you're at 55. Anything greater than 30 is a concern. So you're nearly twice that to where you are. Then obviously you have what we call dysmetabolic syndrome. Why is that important? Because it's a multitude of health issues. It's actually a cardiometabolic disorder, right? Cardiovascular disease, metabolic issues. Well, you're looking at you see an endocrinologist. That's metabolic. So for that reason alone, that's why it's you've got the multitude of diseases where you're at. Combined with you've got obstructive sleep apnea, right? So
Right.
when you look at all those diseases, obstructive sleep apnea, hypertension, prediabetes, there is a common association:
Mhm.
excess weight, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of where you're at, right? You've got a multitude of health issues that are related to your weight. So the reason why I brought up those other options, if you talk to your physician about other options, because yes, I can see why they would indicate that, because the primary you know option for you would be bariatric surgery, right? And the reason being is because your BMI is significantly high, and you have a multitude of health issues. Yes, there's risk and benefits that go along with bariatric surgery. Um, but what the point of the bariatric surgery is for you to be able to get a significant amount of weight off fast, and that's been shown to resolve a lot of health issues over time, right? Now, when we talk about significant weight off fast, there are two different ways to do it. One is through bariatric surgery, which they're going to surgically make sure that you are only limited to a certain amount of calories that you can ingest, either by doing a band, right, being constrictive around the stomach, or they're going to do a what they call a Roux-en-Y, which is they basically cut a pouch, and then you are only going to get a certain amount of food in the top portion of your stomach, and then it transfers into your small intestine, right, from the top part of the stomach. Again, the intent behind that is physical limitation of the amount of food or calories you can consume in a given day. The risk, obviously, there's malabsorption issues, meaning there's nutrient deficiency issues, and there's other complications that can go along with it, and those have been somewhat minimized over time, but there's still risk. Anytime you go into surgery, there's risk, right? So the other option is through doing it through the old hard times, or the old
Tried and
tested
true.
method. Is just you need to be physically limited on calorie intake, and what I mean by that is you can either do it through bariatric surgery, or you can do it through a modified or 100% meal replacement program, right? The reason why is, again, where you're at from a health perspective and from a weight perspective, you've got to get a significant amount of weight off now.
Right.
You could, yes, the method of diet and exercise, lifestyle change, those are extremely important for long term and for maintenance. But right now, where I'm looking at with your weight and looking at from your health, you've got to get a significant amount of weight off now.
Right.
And you have greater than 50 pounds that you need to get off fairly quick, right? You're looking at wanting to get 100 pounds off, right?
Right.
Is it possible to get 100 pounds off in 9 months? Absolutely. It's very easy to do that. But where I see the more social issue is at the home social support component, right?
Right.
And so my recommendation is based off what I've seen and what I've gathered from you is you need to be on a very structured meal replacement program. There's risk and benefits that go along with it. Obviously, the risks are, well, you're only limited to the food that is provided, right? The other risk is, okay, if you go off the meal replacement program and you have not learned to address the social boundaries, social issues for management, right? And then you revert back to the previous behavior, right? Then rapid weight gain ensues, right? So that's the other risk. The benefit is it significantly helps you lose a substantial amount of weight fast, right? And so the other thing too is it's nutritious. You're going to get adequate nutrients. We can keep you very controlled on the calorie intake. We allow you to have the one meal, what I call one meal per day, which would be up to you, but we provide guidance on lean source protein, fruits, vegetables, limited on the starches, mainly because of where you're at with your blood sugar.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the diabetes things is all new to me.
Right.
And so I'm like completely lost.
Right.
You know.
And so it's pro-inflammatory, meaning that you produce this inflammatory marker called cytokines that just free flows throughout the body. Right, and we're trying to understand where is that really coming from. Does it come from the aspect of your glucose being high and your insulin levels are high, which leads to a pro-inflammatory state? We know abdominal obesity is pro-inflammatory, right? Why is pro-inflammatory so important? Because you can tend to hold water. It makes it harder to lose weight, right? And that's why you're hearing with your weight fluctuations, it's probably the difference in water, your salt intake, and also how your blood sugar is responding to various foods that you're eating. But we also know that there's some new things coming out called endotoxemia. It's basically gut disruption of specific bacteria in the small intestine. And it leads to hyperpermeability or increased permeability of the small intestine and allows things to cross over. So we are starting to see that might be leading to insulin resistance because that's pro-inflammatory as well. So there's a combination of things that are likely going on, but again, it goes back to what can we do to get a significant amount of weight off fast, safe, and then it's effective, right? And then we transition to the lifestyle change through the course of treatment, right? I don't expect you to go to the gym and do a ton of activity, given your current health state, and pain and discomfort. But what I do recommend is getting more physical activity in regard to just being more physically active, right? If that entails just walking around the track of the gym, doing light resistance training, that's great. As you lose the weight and you increase energy, decrease weight to the joints, then yes, you can start extending the duration of the activity or increasing the intensity of the activity. But right now, I would not be recommending that. Just because you're moving around 313 pounds, not the best physical health, and that's not safe for you, your joints, you're risking injury, or your heart, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I know, like, even now, it's like, I have a very hard time sitting still, you know, and you know, sometimes even when I'm sitting still, I got to be doing a dozen different things at the same time. But there's times it's like I get so antsy, I'll take her and we'll go to the store, and I'll just walk up and down the grocery aisles. And the funny thing is sometimes I walk out without even buying anything. I'm just walking up and down just to be walking up and down. But it's the only warm place that's got some room where we can walk around and they don't bother us there.
So I think just getting more basic activity is okay. But again, to get a significant amount of weight off, we need to keep you calorie controlled in that kind of environment as much as possible. Given that you've done, this is a great tool. Self-monitoring is an excellent tool. But to show, I mean, I think what's important is you've done this for a month and you gained weight, right? So
and then you can tell that I'm not eating 1,500 you know, it's like my calories are not.
Well, your calories are all over the board, and I don't think there's anything wrong with your metabolism, given that your thyroid is perfectly fine and you're taking Synthroid to manage that. I'm not too worried to say, well, maybe you're not burning enough calories. I think you're going to burn an adequate amount of calories. Yes, we want to measure that to see specifically, quantifiably, what that number looks like for you, and then how much weight loss we can project with the level of calories we would recommend for you. So then that would help, you know, say for example, you're burning 2,200 calories or 2,500 calories, whatever that number looks like, and we put you at, be honest, 1,000 to 1,200 is where I would want you.
Well, and to me that makes more sense than what the other place was telling me I had to eat 2,400, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I mean, that's okay to do, but it's one, you did it and you weren't successful, so I don't want to repeat you tried and it didn't work. One, you're gonna have shaky confidence in that process anyway, so I wouldn't want to do that. The second thing too is I know if I can push you at 1,000 to 1,200 calories, you're going to lose weight, but I need to measure your metabolism to understand how much weight you're likely to lose.
Okay.
Right? Is it a pound per week? Is it 2 pounds per week? Is it 3 pounds per week? I think that way it helps you understand when you get on the scale how much weight loss you can expect. Now, naturally, you're going to lose a ton of weight early in the first month. I mean, that's just that's the standard process. It depends on how much water you're holding. Just by looking at your arms, you definitely have some peripheral swelling, so it tells me you're holding water. The amount of salt that's in your diet from just glancing at your food log would also retain fluid. So that's how much weight you're likely to lose. Some people can lose 10 pounds in a week. Right? I just don't know until we measure your metabolism and you have about 2 weeks of data. Then that helps clear out that extra fluid. Then we start getting into what I call the actual weight loss, fat loss. Right?
Yeah.
That's where you want to be. But it takes a couple weeks to get there just because your body's purging the excess fluid.
Okay.
So that would be my recommendation. So it's a pretty aggressive program, but again, I think that's recommended based upon where you're at with your body mass index and multitude of health issues. Granted, those things seem to be good controlled. With your blood pressure, looks good. Your blood glucose isn't horrible, but it is elevated. We don't know what your lipids look like, but naturally those are going to change anyways with weight loss and dietary changes that we're going to do anyways.
Okay.
So.
And get some support.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I would recommend. I do offer. The parent. I do offer either like if I'm working with an adolescent or if the spouse is able to join through the sessions to learn and to also divulge into management at the support level. I would encourage you to participate. It doesn't cost you to participate. You just come, but it's up to you. But I think for her success, she's gonna need to have a very strong front at the house.
Yeah, well, actually, you'll have one thing that's going to be, Michael's going to be gone here in about a couple of weeks, so you won't have him to say, no, I'm not going to change my...
He'll be in and out.
Yeah, but he's going to be going up to CSU for college. So at least for the 4 semesters, he's going to be up there.
And one of the things I would be working with you on of these sessions is more or less the therapeutic side of behavioral management. And what that means is more cognitive behavioral therapy, dealing with some of these past issues, as well as establishing comfortable and safe boundaries for you. But then you also will need to enforce those boundaries and protect yourself, right? To get to where you need to be. I mean, I brought up the whole aspect. How old was your son? 23. Well, he's a grown adult, so there's no reason why you need to be cooking for him. Right? He can make those choices. If he's not willing to say, well, I'm not going to do what, I'm not going to eat what you're going to cook, then he doesn't eat what you cook. He can figure out what he's going to do.
He's on his own.
Yeah.
But he comes in with soda, and I usually don't buy soda.
Okay.
Is
that a weakness to you?
Well, it's one of those, I drink what's available.
Sure.
And if it's available. And a lot of times, basically what I do is, if I'm not supposed to have it, I don't buy it. I don't bring it into my house, and that way it's not a thought.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And he'll buy Chinese food. He'll buy Chinese food I love, but if I make it, because I don't add like you were talking about salt. I don't add extra salt. If it's already in the food, that's one thing. But if I make it, I don't add extra if I can help it, or the extra butter, or the extra oil, or anything like that. I try to be mindful of that stuff.
That's one of my weaknesses.
And I'm constantly yelling at him for he'll take the salt shaker and go like,
well, one of the things that you'll need to work on, and I think only you can decide which option is best for you. And what that option, where I'm referring to specifically, is, are you okay with the food in the house, or are you okay with the food out of the house? Because initially we want to choose the option that is easiest and you're more confident in.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I'm pretty, like if I have to bring it with me, I've done that. Bring my own food with me and eat it and stuff like that. I have to break somebody of the habit of going out for dinner all the time. Okay. And I'm getting better when, like, if we go to a movie, I try to bring my own snacks versus, but you know, I'll still end up buying a popcorn, but, you know, the worst I'll do is like a popcorn and a diet soda.
Okay.
If I bought at there. But I try to bring like some grapes and some carrot sticks and some granola. I think I got some pumpkin seed granola stuff at home.
And these sound like all great things, but where I find it works best is keeping you, you know, this is something that you have to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is keeping you completely controlled,
Okay.
right? And what I mean by that is keeping your diet controlled to the best of our ability,
Okay.
right? And then we can start gravitating and allowing these other things in,
Okay.
right? Because what I don't want to have